Okay, last time we talked about 10 types of psychological manipulation techniques, and this time we will talk about another 10. Think of this as your shortcut to being really well informed about these subtle dynamics that show up in everyday interactions. Let's pick up where we left off, starting with number 11.
All right, yeah, number 11. So this one, you see it a lot in relationship dynamics. It's called triangulation. What we're seeing is someone intentionally introducing, like, a third party, could be an ex, a friend, maybe even just some hypothetical person. And they highlight their positive traits, often kind of subtly suggesting you aren't quite measuring up.
So it's creating a comparison, trying to
Ah,
make you feel like insecure to control you.
exactly, yeah. The core mechanism here, it really leverages social comparison to create that insecurity. It's designed to make you feel like you have to compete, compete for their attention or their approval, sort of like you're in some weird audition you never agreed to.
Ugh, yeah, that sounds awful. So the counter, what do you do?
Well, the key is basically refusing to enter the ring. Just don't compete. You set boundaries, maybe something like, look, if you admire qualities in someone else, that's fine. That's your perspective. But I'm not going to try to be them or compete with them.
Fundamentally, you need to ground yourself in your own self-worth. Your value isn't determined by winning some comparison they just made up.
Number 12 is the silent treatment. Like when, I don't know, a friend stops talking to you because you couldn't help them with something.
Oh, the deep freeze, yeah.
Yeah.
It appears this uses negative punishment. It's a concept from operant conditioning, basically. They're removing communication and connection in a relationship to punish what they see as non-compliance. And they hope it forces you to comply next time. It can trigger these like primal fears of abandonment, making you kind of desperate to break the silence, often by just giving in.
Mm.
So how do you navigate that pressure without just, caving?
You've got to resist that urge to chase them or over-apologize just because they've gone quiet. You can communicate your stance clearly but palmily, something like, when you're ready to talk about this respectfully, I'm here, but silence isn't going to fix it. Then, and this is crucial, you shift your focus. Don't let their tactic control your emotional state. Go engage with people and activities that are healthy, that are reciprocal.
That makes a lot of sense. Number 13 is the false dilemma. This is that classic my way or the highway thing, right? Like a boss giving an ultimatum. Work overtime tonight or don't bother coming in tomorrow.
Right, exactly. They present two options, usually one's pretty terrible, implying these are the only possibilities. It's a cognitive distortion, really, designed to trap you in black and white thinking. It's like they've put you in this tiny, uncomfortable box, even though there's a whole world of other alternatives just outside it.
And you feel stuck, like you have no real choice.
Precisely. So the powerful countermeasure is simply questioning the premise. Like, are those really the only two options available? Can you propose a third or maybe even a fourth alternative, something that addresses the underlying need without just accepting their limited framework? Refuse to be coerced into their false choice. You have the right to say, look, those two options don't work for me. Let's explore other solutions.
Okay, good one. Number 14, emotional exhaustion. This describes someone who constantly dumps their problems on you, needing endless support, but then they just disappear when you might need them.
Yeah, this appears to be leveraging empathy fatigue. It creates this fundamentally one-sided dynamic. You're constantly putting out emotional energy, basically acting as their unpaid therapist,
Yeah.
right? But the relationship lacks any kind of reciprocal flow of support. You end up emotionally depleted while they just take and take.
So how do you stop being the perpetual emotional sponge?
It starts with setting really clear emotional boundaries. You can offer support, sure, but define its limits. Maybe say, I can listen for a bit, but I also need to manage my own energy. You can also try to encourage balance. Let's talk about what's going on with you today, and perhaps next time we can check in on how things are for me. And sometimes, honestly, learning to say no or suggesting they seek professional help is the healthiest boundary you can set, for both of you, really.
Right. Okay, 15 is responsibility shifting. This is the classic move where someone deflects blame, like a partner who cheated claiming, well, it's because you didn't pay enough attention to me.
Ah, yes. Let the mental gymnastics begin. This is a prime example of attribution bias and projection. They take their own actions, their own failures, and just illogically pin them on you. It's the psychological equivalent of, I don't know, tripping on the sidewalk and blaming the concrete because you weren't looking where you were going. It's frankly absurd when you really stop and analyze it.
So you just point out how absurd it is.
Pretty much, yeah. You reject the false blame directly. My actions are my responsibility, and your actions are yours. My behavior doesn't make you do anything. You can point out the logical fallacy, maybe gently. So, are you saying everyone who feels neglected goes and does that? And you firmly ground the conversation in the facts of their actions, separating it from other discussions about, say, relationship dynamics.
Okay. Number 16, false modesty. This is the colleague who's always saying, oh, I'm just not good at this kind of task,
Yeah.
sort of strategically feigning incompetence to dump work on you.
It appears they're using a form of reverse psychology, or maybe feigned weakness. They present themselves as incapable or maybe too humble to handle something. But it's not usually out of genuine limitation. It's to manipulate your helpfulness and offload their responsibilities. They're being strategically helpless to make you feel like you have to be the savior.
So they're kind of playing on your willingness to step in and help out.
Precisely. The counter is to just avoid automatically stepping into that savior role. Instead of just taking over, you can encourage their actual effort. Like, I understand you find it challenging. Let's look at some resources together. Or maybe we can break down the steps so you can tackle it. Clearly define roles on projects. Don't let their performance of incompetence automatically mean more work for you.
Right, don't enable it. Okay, 17, gradual compliance. This is the foot in the door technique, isn't it? Where small requests escalate like, first it's lecture notes, then a ride, then borrowing money, maybe eventually your car, until saying no feels really difficult.
That's the one. Our research shows this leverages the commitment and consistency principle. Once you've agreed to a small initial request, you feel this internal pressure, and maybe external pressure too, to remain consistent with that helpful image. That makes it much harder to refuse larger subsequent requests. It's like agreeing to hold someone's coffee for a second, and suddenly you find yourself helping them move apartments.
So how do you spot this pattern early and, avoid getting swept along?
You just have to pay attention to the escalation. Recognize the pattern of increasing asks. It's really crucial to be okay with saying no partway through, even if you agree to the first smaller things. Don't feel obligated just because you helped once, and don't be afraid to set clear boundaries or limitations right when the requests begin or as soon as you notice that pattern starting to emerge.
Okay. Number 18, false urgency. The classic salesperson line. Last day of the sale. Buy now or miss out.
Dramatic gasp. Quick, buy everything!
Yeah, this taps directly into the scarcity effect. By creating a fake or maybe just exaggerated sense of limited time or availability, they trigger anxiety. They push you towards making impulsive decisions, hoping you'll react emotionally instead of, rationally.
So don't let the pressure override your thinking. The immediate counter is just to build in a delay. Just say, okay, I need some time to think about this. If it's a truly good opportunity, it'll likely still be there tomorrow, or a similar one will come along. Question the pressure tactics. Ask, why the sudden rush? Is this deadline actually real, or is it just a tactic?
Okay, 19 is victim disguise. This is when someone makes a mistake or causes a problem, but then claims everyone is against them or they're being persecuted just to gain sympathy and avoid taking responsibility.
Right. This involves adopting a victim narrative specifically to manipulate empathy and dodge accountability. They paint themselves as helpless or wrong to make you feel guilty or sorry for them, hoping you'll excuse their behavior or maybe even fix their problem for them.
How do you tell the difference between someone genuinely struggling and this kind of manipulative tactic? It can be tricky.
It can be. Look for patterns of behavior. Does this person consistently blame external factors for everything? Do they resist solutions or taking steps to help themselves, preferring instead to just dwell on how unfair things are? While you can certainly offer sympathy for real difficulties, avoid taking on their emotional burden or solving their problems. Encourage their agency instead. I'm here to support you as you figure this out, but I can't fix it for you.
Right, support versus enabling. And finally, number 20, social image blackmail. This is using phrases like, oh, you're such a kind and generous person, you wouldn't mind helping with this little thing, would you?
Ugh, yes. That one's insidious. They're manipulating your desire to be seen positively, right? Tying your compliance directly to maintaining a specific social image being seen as generous or kind or capable, whatever it is. They hope you'll agree just to prove you fit that descriptor, even if you really don't want to or maybe can't help right then.
So they're basically exploiting your desire for, external validation.
Precisely, yeah. The key is to recognize the illogical connection they're trying to forge. Your inherent kindness or generosity isn't defined by agreeing to this specific request at this specific moment. You could even use a bit of humor sometimes to highlight the absurdity, like, wow, you must have a very interesting definition of kindness if it means I have to do this. Ultimately, it really comes down to grounding your self-worth internally, separate from external validation or their manipulative framing of the situation.
Wow, okay, that's another set of really insightful techniques to recognize. Being aware of these tactics is the crucial first step in navigating these kinds of complicated interactions.
Absolutely. Awareness changes the whole dynamic, doesn't it? It allows you to see the maneuver happening in real time rather than just reacting instinctively to the pressure or the emotion they're trying to create. It gives you that crucial space to choose your response.
It truly makes you reflect on how often these might be happening around us, maybe tactics we've encountered in the past, without even realizing what they were.
It really does. So here's maybe a thought to carry with you. As you move forward today, or even just thinking back on recent conversations, which of these 20 tactics, the 10 from last time, or these 10 new ones, might you have unconsciously encountered? And perhaps, just perhaps, which might you have even unconsciously used yourself sometimes? What does that awareness actually change about how you interact with the world going forward?